What is it like to date a Chinese girl? In today's video, I'm gonna let you know all the details. So be my guest and sit down, listen to me and this story. I am a white American and married to a wonderful Chinese lady. We have known each other for over 13 years. When I was chasing her as a college student in China, it was tough. Foreigners have a bad reputation in China for being promiscuous. Okay. So she played really hard to get. I recall the first time she allowed me to hug her was after 6 months of dating. Wow! After 6 months of dating, there was a hug. Okay, it was tough. I agree with that. Oh my God! He was a very perseverant guy. He deserves all the happiness. Finally, after many years of patience and persistence, I was able to win her and her family over. My advice for when dating a Chinese girl is first, be willing to learn Chinese culture and try Chinese food. It will go a long way. Respect them. Number 2, don't betray them. Quick story. One day a friend asked me, how is it that you can see young women walking down the street alone in the middle of the night in big cities in China? I told him because everyone knows you don't want to mess with angry Chinese girl. You guys must know this. Why? Seriously. Number 3, be sincere. Tell them directly up front what is that you want in the relationship. Never trick them or mislead them. Number 4, date more. I got lucky finding the one on my first try. Oh my God, this story is just so sweet. But I do recommend more dating to make sure you are making the best effort, finding the best match for yourself. What I like most about Chinese women is that they are both feminine and strong. They take great pride in being feminine, spending time to look beautiful, act and dress girly. Strangers and friends alike in public and private will call each other menu, pretty girl, while at the same time not taking any crap of disrespect from anyone, including men. I'll doubt about that. In China, there are surprisingly large number of women working in upper management, and they are strong, great, quick-thinking leaders. I have worked with many of them. Good luck. Okay, so I do agree with all of these points, of course, but I mean, why would you be like just advising people to disrespect Latinas or Africans or British or whatsoever because they can be disrespected, so therefore you don't have to mind that? I mean, if you're a man, then you will, behave up to standards. So that is just like common sense, and it's not just common sense, it's just like upon your own values, right? And I will have to disagree with this again because, I mean, be willing to learn Chinese, of course, because it will somehow get you farther in life in relationship with their family, and you will understand more about her character, her culture, and whenever she gets angry and whenever she doesn't want something specifically because of, like, let's say, during the period, just like in my case now, like in China, during periods, girls will be like, so cranky, yeah? And men must know that they have their periods, so they will treat them better those days. Like, they will provide them with hot water, hot tea, hot whatever, nothing cold. So you must know this in advance. Obviously, you don't know because you're a foreigner. Many foreigners are very unaware of how the woman body works, whereas Chinese are quite knowledgeable because I guess the millenary ancient knowledge of like the Chinese medicine somehow gets them farther in life, where like regarding the human preservation, the human body, health, and just overall. Anyways, guys, even though they are quite young, like let's say 20-year-old guy will just be purchasing a hot tea for the girl because she's in her period and she deserves a hot warm beverage because she's having cramps. Whereas in the USA, like a couple of young 20-something-year-olds, boyfriend and girlfriend, will just be going out on a date and having an ice cream. no matter the girl is in her period. So that is a grown, like a grown activity to do if you're a foreigner with a Chinese. I myself just behave like, I mean, I follow those rules because they're very wise. Whenever you drink cold, you will have more cramps, you will feel worse. So that is like, you have to understand those principles, and in order to understand those principles, many of this knowledge is just intrinsicable in the culture. I mean, whenever you, and in the culture and in the language. So whenever you get to understand more of the language, you will understand more of the culture and more of the behaviors, right? So yeah, this is it. Whenever there is a girl having their period, you will not provide her with iced tea or iced coffee or iced water. You will just provide hot water, hot tea, or even hot pads, or just do those kind of things. And you will be more gentleman, more sweet, more kind. I guess all men, this is just common knowledge everywhere, but I guess it's not that common because many men will not be that aware of that, or will just not take that into consideration. Like whenever we are having that kind of that a period of the month, you have to be more sensitive to our emotions in order to not get us like all, and you just have to be more kind, like give more gifts, like be more kind, like, oh, I'll do this for you, I'll bring this, I have you this little small surprise, or I prepare for you this soup for your tummy to feel better, or I'll buy you a coffee, link down below, in order for you to feel warmer, and such, so all these things, of course, is better if you will understand the language. Not just that, but also if your partner understands your language, then they will communicate or be able to communicate with your parents. I mean, whenever the case is that the parents, usually like grandmothers or maybe aunts, will not be able to speak English or Spanish or who knows which other language, but it will be just more comfortable. Let's say also like Chinese New Year is around the corner. You will get immersed in the culture and you will understand why they do this during Chinese New Year, and you will not look at it as all weird jazz, like what are they doing, why are they sweeping their houses, why are they like putting the mentie. So you will get to have more understanding of all, like the whole culture, like overall, right, as a picture. And the more you understand about the person, the more you can get along, right? The less you understand or comprehend, the less like you can get to ride the waves, like whenever there's a problem or whenever she reacts in such a way, like she expects you to do this or that, but you are unable to do that because you are unaware, because you don't know, like you needed to react in that way, because Chinese guys usually react in that way because they expect them to react that way because of this or reason that in Chinese culture or Chinese saying or Chinese ancient traditional medicine says so, then you have to do that. Okay, so that's it for like the language. I do totally agree that be willing to learn Chinese. Everything regarding like going hard on liking someone for like a life partner, right? Not like a flirt or just having a few dates with someone. Like you will not be that invested, then why would you want to learn the language? Try Chinese food, it will go a long way. Yeah, but I have also something to say about this. Okay, he is a guy and he is the one making the courting, right? But this was like very long ago. So nowadays I've heard a lot of stories from my Spanish followers, like girls, Latinas dating Chinese guys. And what happens here is like, and guys, this is happening all around the world. It's not just them. Like you will confirm that I'm correct. Somehow the Chinese can go out of China, but China doesn't go out of them. So wherever they go, they will still just kind of made small China in that place. Let's say they go to like Mexico, right here in Guadalajara, they will just gather Chinese with Chinese and we'll be eating Chinese food and we'll be speaking Chinese language and we'll just socialize with Chinese people. Usually will not make much friends apart from those Of course, if you're watching this video, most of you watching these videos are already kind of feeling not like Chinese from China, but like Chinese born in USA or Canada. You feel a different identity to some extent that some of you cannot even speak Chinese, and you cannot even communicate with the Chinese like from mainland, although you can communicate with the Chinese from Canada or USA, and you feel Chinese, but you don't feel that Chinese, right? And I'm not talking about like you guys, but the Chinese that are going abroad and just having these girls, or like getting these women to marry them, like the ones I'm talking that approach me and tell me their stories, are just very sometimes not comprehensive in the way that it's a two cultural relationship, and they'll just be like, I want to eat Chinese food every day, 3 times a day. Even my cousin married this Chinese woman, and my like nephews are just complaining like she makes rice all day long and they don't want to eat rice anymore. Or that I have friends that also invited Chinese women to travel to Mexico to meet their parents, and the request from the Chinese was like, we have to eat at least one meal of the day to be Chinese. So if there are breakfast, lunch, and dinner, if there's like 3 meals a day, one of the meals, let's say lunch or dinner, has to be Chinese. So this is a very strong request, like let's say I'm marrying a Swedish or a British or a Canadian. Who do you guys think I'll marry? I don't know. Let me know. Anyways, it's just very strong. It's just very weird and awkward that I'll be requesting like one of the meals have to be Mexican. Like, it's just not normal. Foreigners with foreigners are not that requisitive. How to say? I think this is a word that I just made for myself, but it's just a little bit nonsense. But I mean, Chinese culture is too very strong that whenever they go out of China's still in them, and they still need to follow these patterns of habits and lifestyle. So it's very hard for them to try or like other kind of foods in a daily basis. They will not get used to it, or they will just be reluctant to just live a lifestyle of a foreign lifestyle, even though they are already not in China. So as far as I know, all the Chinese here that are living in Mexico, like the ones that are just coming here in recent years, are not eating Mexican food. Usually what they do is they have like apartments where they live like big bunch of groups, and they'll be cooking there and going to apartments to have dinners, or if they're in the company, someone will provide them with foods that is Chinese food. Usually they don't go to restaurants, like Mexican restaurants and such and such. I have been out with those kind of people, but they don't really enjoy the tastes of these foods here. They don't feel it's quite well. Of course, they have very, very big standards. Chinese food cuisine is great, yeah. Also Mexican, but it's just different. So, I mean, they can have a Mexican meal during one day, but they will still want to have the Chinese meal. So, what I wanted to say is like, usually these guys request or just want to keep following their Chinese lifestyle, no matter they chose a Mexican wife or a Latino wife from maybe elsewhere, Peru, Ecuador. And they don't have the empathy to also understand that the wife also has their own culture and also their own lifestyle or their own like habits or way that they want to keep doing their lives just like they previously were doing as in their countries. Especially they're living here in Mexico and they just want to keep living like in China. So I find it to be quite unfair, and I also tell girls like, why would you just follow their standards? Like, you are marrying him, there must be empathy towards your culture too, or you must respect your culture first or your own decisions, because if you don't speak up for yourself, who will? You will just follow into his lead onto whatever it is that he wants to choose for like dinner or the way that he wants to live, that you are not wanting, especially because they are not wanting, not because they love it. Otherwise, why would I be speaking about it if they were so happy indulging in all the habits and culture of them, right? For example, some of these girls, let's say, they just go to dinners with the friends, and the friends are just speaking Chinese, which is super unrespectful because they just feel comfortable speaking Chinese, so they are just left outside of the circle, right? So us foreigners can be more. I mean, at least when we were in China, you just kind of. If you see a foreigner, you just feel a foreigner and a foreigner. You don't feel like Mexican and this other. Of course, there are like subcultures and subgroups, but in general, if you get to meet a foreigner, you feel, oh, it's a brother, it's a sister here in China because we are outsiders, you know? So we will try to be, we will not try to leave behind others. No matter we cannot speak great the language, no matter the food, we will try to incorporate people and just share, like, let's say, my Mexican culture, my Spanish, I mean, my food with your food. I mean, we will have kind of a everybody's happy kind of approach. Whereas in China, it's different because they are just very, I mean, the Chinese culture is quite strong, and also parents want them to preserve the culture and just take it from generation to generation. Therefore, so many parents are not wanting or willing them to marry outsiders, foreigners, because the culture will be somehow lost, especially if you don't get to speak the language. Okay, so respect them, don't betray them. I mean, give me a break. You are giving this advice for men that want to date Chinese, like, so you can betray others then. And the story about why there weren't many women walking down the street alone in the middle of the night is because you don't want to mess with an angry Chinese. I think this is a silly little story, but give me a break. In Mexico, there could be also women walking down the street, but they aren't. And the reason is not because their character for women, is because of the safety or security of the country. That is the whole answer. Even in like elsewhere, you know, even maybe in the USA, it's not because the women, like American women, would not be angry if you like treat her or you like molest her, if you just you know, approach her and abuse her, like try to just mess with her. No, any woman around the world can be as angry as them. Believe me, it's not that. It's the country management of the security measures. In Mexico, we don't go out walking the street because we might not be coming back. And believe me, Mexicans can even get crankier than Chinese. Maybe, I'm not sure, maybe not. It's just we seem to be like, but not that much, right? And in the USA, it might be the same. It's not that the character of the woman, like, what does any woman walking down the street at the middle of the night has to do with them getting cranky? Because if you approach them, like, you will not live to tell it. Like, that's not true. I mean, I don't think it goes that way. Of course, Mexican women will also react in a very violent or aggressive way or cranky way if they get to be approached by these individuals that will harm them. But there is no time or there's no chance to even defend yourself. You get just you get to be like, I mean, I don't want to be telling all this bad stuff, but you know what happens in Mexico, and if you don't know, it's better you don't know. But you just don't survive to tell the story. So it has to do with the safety of the country. I myself was walking at the middle of the night when I was living in Beijing, when I was in BLCU, from Budauco to like Shichimen, and even to like Wanfujing. You know, I walk from this University BLCU to Wanfujing. If you guys know where is that, or okay, maybe you might not know. Maybe you know where is like Tiananmen. I walk from BLCU to Tiananmen, if you know that distance, or from the bird nest to Tiananmen. That was how hard my walking hardcore was. Did I say right? Anyways, I was a hard walker. Anyways, what I wanted to say is I also did walk at the middle of the night, and it didn't happen to, I mean, even in Shenzhen. And it didn't cross my mind like, okay, nobody's coming because they know I am gonna be so cranky. It's not that, it's just because you feel safe enough to do so. Anyways, let's get to the next one. Be sincere. Tell them directly upfront what you want in the relationship. Never trick them or mislead them. I don't know what to say about this one, but men trick all around the world as well as women. I'm not gonna be like women are not tricky. And tell them what you want